So I'm going to pick up where I left off in my last video about why we center in the womb in Shakti Yoga. Now, something I didn't mention in the last video that's actually quite important is that even if a woman doesn't have a uterus, so the organ of the womb, she still has a womb space. So she might have had a hysterectomy, so where the uterus is removed, or perhaps she's a transgender woman who has never had a physical uterus. But even in these cases, the womb space is an energetic center that we work with. And womb space is actually a really great word that I use interchangeably with womb to mean and to refer to the same thing, really. Because the womb space alludes to the truth about the womb is that she is a hollow organ, or she is a yin energy center. Yin referring to the receptive nature of the feminine. So this feminine energy center receives. The womb takes in. Even think about the anatomy of our sexuality, right? That the female body takes in, So for that reason, our womb space takes in a whole lot of impressions that are not necessarily what we want to have occupying this space. And how that can happen, I don't know a single woman, to be honest, who has not experienced either sexual, birth, or medical trauma of some kind. And this can be as simple as the insertion or the removal of an IUD. It can be, even a lover, even a consensual lover, entering before she's ready, for example. There are so many other examples. Birth trauma is incredibly common as well. All these cases where a woman hasn't necessarily had a choice as far as how this sacred space in her body is treated, right? So for so many women, this is a journey of respecting this space for herself. And, that's deep healing work. And not only when we access and come into contact with this space in our body, we aren't only meeting our own personal history, but also that of especially our female ancestors, because this is the part of the body. The womb is where life began for all of us. So it's so connected to our mother line, to that matrilineage. So we can very much carry in this space the also ancestral traumas and that have been passed down the line if they haven't been healed, right? So there is a lot of potential to free ourselves from all of that, and in doing so, uncovering the creative potency, the pleasure, the power of this space once we inhabit this space. Because one of the reasons that we're not accessing all of that is because we're not actually resting into this space. Because as I said, this is a space. So when this space is filled up with, these impressions or imprints, we are impacted by that. It's like there is this magnetism to this space. So whatever is inside this space also tends to be the experiences that we attract. It's like an energetic law, right? When we inhabit this space and reclaim this space and fill this space with our own energy, and with also the Shakti that we harness in practices like Shakti Yoga, this space becomes like a throbbing, powerful, vibrant, creative portal. And when we're connected in that way, we make choices that are really and truly aligned with what is good for us, with what we deeply know is true for us. And as I implied in my last video, this doesn't just happen. It's a relationship that takes building and cultivating, which is why Shakti Yoga is a womb-centered yoga where we orient ourselves again and again to the womb, because all the messages we've been given, it's like we've been looking away, we've been turning away rather than coming in, coming home. It's like such a deep homecoming that women experience when they return to this space. And it was our first home. The womb is where life began for all of us without exception. So it's a deep homecoming. It's the mother place. It's a place where we can also mother ourselves, where we can be deeply nurtured and nourished. The way I work with the womb, it's very much in relationship with Mother Earth, because we didn't all have, I dare say it, none of us had a perfect mother. So it's like remothering ourselves and letting the earth, our mother, and her purity and her generosity and her power to bring a new imprint into the womb space that is healing, that is healthy, that is empowering, that is abundant, that is fertile. And fertility is, again, not just relevant for women who want to bear children, but it's like our zest for life, right? It's so important that we're, enlivening this space. And we do that in our practice by doing a lot of movements that include the pelvis, right? There's so much stagnant energy here because we've been cut off and because we sit in chairs and, because of trauma that, it's sometimes too much to enter this space. And we do it very gradually and lovingly and gently in Shakti Yoga with a lot of reverence, with a lot of heart. For so many women, it's the heart energy that comes so naturally. So we can, let that overflow, let that, reconnect the womb and the heart, because there's also been a cut off between the two. So when we reconnect the womb and the heart, we're also going to be a lot more discerning around, the kind of lovers that we choose, for example, the experiences that we say yes to, generally speaking, because we are aligned with our heart and we are in devotion to our womb. And being in devotion to the womb is being in devotion to the feminine force, to feminine power, to Shakti, to life, to Mother Earth. It's like saying yes to life. And when that disconnect is there, that's when we aren't really taking life in. As I said, this is a receptive center. So if we're not taking life in, we're not allowing ourselves to experience nourishment and beauty and pleasure and aliveness, all of these possibilities, right? So when we're working in relationship with the earth, we also have a place where we can release, like we do with menstruation, right? Like releasing and discharging any of the old energy so that we can make space in this womb space for the nourishment or for whatever we're wanting to welcome in. So that's really key in Shakti Yoga, is this returning, this directing of energy that we free up and cultivate into this space, the bringing in of our love, of our devotion, or our just simple kindness into this space that really is yearning for so much kindness and loving attention. When we tune into her, that's often what we discover. That's what she's needing. And that's why regularity really matters. It's not like you go get a womb healing session. I have women come to me for womb healings and it's like, oh yeah, I'll just come get a womb healing and be done with that. It's like, no, it's actually an ongoing devotion. Like she's like a garden. She requires a really regular tending to. And because all the forces that have had us disconnect are so strong and ingrained, right? It can take time, it can take patience. It's like we've got to really be very, very consistent and patient and just allow for the timing, like a garden, like a rose that blooms when the conditions are right, when there's enough sunshine and rain and the soil is right. So I hope that gives you a little more of a sense of why centering here in the womb is so valuable and so important. And I would love to hear any thoughts or anything that this stirs or sparks in you.